You guys have been loving the case studies, and so today I am back with another one, although it's going to have a little bit different of a twist. I'm going to have more of an investment-heavy focus as opposed to solely a planning focus. I'm still going to go through the traditional process that I go through, but I want to certainly make sure that you guys are understanding the investment side of things, as it's very simple, but the way that you win in retirement is by not losing. You no longer need to hit home runs if you've done a really good job saving and investing. I need you to now retain that wealth, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do today. So we're going to hop right in. If you're watching this video going, hey, I don't have $5 million. I don't have $2 million. I have different case studies depending on your situation. If you're going, hey, I'd love to see a case study with $10 million plus dollars. I also have clients where I've done case studies on those as well. So make sure to find the right video. I think today is certainly going to be helpful for you, but want to make sure all of you know that you can find a video on my channel here for your specific situation. Now, before we hop in, please know that I love going over tax strategy and withdrawals and investments, not because I love that stuff, but because I want you to go live your dream retirement. And too often, people get lost in the numbers and don't take action. So if there's anything that you take from today's video, I hope it helps you dial in your expenses, or I hope it lets you go, okay, yeah, I do see I'm 2 years out from retirement, not 5. Or you know what? Based on what I want to spend, yeah, it's going to be 3 or 4 more years of working so that when I get to that point, I can spend it and not have that little thing in the back of your head going, hey, I don't know if I'm going to be okay if markets do this or do that. So want you retiring early, but like I've said in my previous videos, I'm one of the meanest early retirement planners because I don't want you to retire too early. So I want to make sure that this is helpful for you. Let's go ahead and hop in. Now, the last video I did came from Jonathan, and Jonathan kindly said, totally fine with you using my name, just didn't expect you to do so. So this time I'm blocking out the name entirely, and this comes from someone that I'm not going to disclose. He does say, Dear Ari, thank you for your YouTube videos, giving me more confidence, yet still haven't pulled the trigger on an early retirement. Health worries me, and I know it's time to get serious, but hard to do after 40 plus years of working. Would appreciate any guidance on my situation you're willing to give. I prefer my wife to be anonymous should you use this as a video idea, but I know you often use John Sample, so that's fine with me. And I'm not even going to say your name here, so I've blocked it out. So don't worry, neither you or your wife. So you are 59 years old. Your wife is 56 years old. Your wife has a pension of $45,000 a year. I don't know when that begins, but I assume once she retires. Now it has a COLA, and for those that don't know, that stands for cost of living adjustment, and that you do not have a pension. You are planning on Social Security at 70, at $4,200 a month, and you are saying that your wife will get the spousal at full retirement age, but open to other options. So real quick, what this means, many people make the mistake of thinking that, for example, if you collect at age 70 at $4,200 a month, that your partner is eligible for half of that. But that's not actually how it works. The way it works is you are able to collect when you'd like, but let's say $4,200 at age 70, but your wife in this case is not eligible for half of that. She's only eligible for half of what you could collect at full retirement age. So let's assume that your full retirement age benefit was $3,500. Well, your wife would be eligible for half of $3,500, not half of $4,200. So it sounds like this viewer is aware of that and saying we'll get spousal, so the spousal benefit at full retirement age. I know it's a lot. In terms of assets, he has a 401k with $2.6 million, a brokerage with $650,000, a Roth IRA with $410,000. Wife has a Roth with $114,000, a 403b, which is like a 401k, for $67,000, IRA with $1.1 million, assuming a rollover, and an HSA with $45,000. How soon can I retire with total confidence since I know enough to be dangerous? So this viewer knows me well, which is I often say the people that reach out, they say one of two things. I don't know what I don't know, or I know enough to be dangerous. The majority of you are not watching going, what's a 401k? You know how it works. You just want it optimized. Like most, tax planning is the area I'm seeking guidance on, as well as ensuring my withdrawal strategy is proficient so I never run the risk of running out. Appreciate the show, and you and James are the best in the business. You're very welcome. James is my partner. If you all don't know James Canole, the president of Root Financial Partners, I'm the vice president. So that is the case that we're going to go over today. Let's hop in. A few things to be aware of. Number one, I have no idea what their income is today. So I have no idea what we're planning for if they want to keep working. But more than that, I really want to know what they want to spend for their dream retirement. If they're coming back to me and they're saying, I want to spend $6,000 a month in retirement, that's going to be very different from if they want to spend $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000 a month in retirement. I also don't know if they have a mortgage today. I assume they don't, or else they would have let me know, but maybe that they do have a mortgage. I don't know if they're considering downsizing. I don't know a lot, so I'm going to be making some assumptions as we go through this. Want you to know that you see the information that I see. So let's hop in. I have to keep all of you on your toes because you're always on me to say, hey, what new ideas do you have for content and other things along planning? So today I'm still going to go through my traditional planning process. So it's going to be a longer video, but what you're going to see is a sample investment analysis. So this is not this particular person that reached out, but it's very similar. And so I wanted to bring this up. This is a sample investment analysis showing all the different funds that they own. Now, this person did not send me this. So this has nothing to do with the investments of the person who sent me that email. However, this is of someone very similar who reached out. And so the first thing I can see here, they have a lot of different mutual funds. For example, the Artisan Small Cap Investor Fund, $915,000. The T. Rowe Price Blue Chip Growth Fund, $658,000. Here's the percentage it represents. And so as I go down the list here, I can see there's a lot of mutual funds. I can see there's some cash. I can see a lot of different things going on here. And this particular portfolio is someone who reached out with $4.4 million. And so not quite the 5 million of the case study doing today, but very similar. And so the first thing I want to always look at is what's the breakdown? Meaning this person has a bunch of different mutual funds. And if you were to add up the percentage that's in Microsoft of all of the different mutual funds, it's 2.38%. That is not a red flag to me. I think Microsoft is a good company, but many people don't know that they own Microsoft within every single mutual fund. And so what's happening is there's what's called excessive fat, or it's called overlap in the real world. But I call it fat, meaning right now we want to understand what amount of Microsoft should we own? What's the most efficient way to own it? And so as we go down the list here, if all of these were in taxable accounts, I would not want to sell them overnight because there'd be a big tax bill. I don't want to have a conversation as to when to sell it. But if all of these are in an IRA, we're almost just duplicating fees in here unnecessarily. So same thing here on Amazon and Apple and all these different companies here. So this is what I want to go through first. This is the big one, which is saying what breakdown of US large companies, mid-sized companies, small companies, international companies, what's the breakdown here? And so here's what this particular client that reached out is looking at. He's got about 88% equities, 7.5% in bonds, and 3.5% in cash. And so it's a very simple analogy that I give, but I'm going to give it to you right now, which is some people reach out and they say, I really want to make sure I'm making the most of my retirement. I said, I do too. And I go, the risk is that we're actually invested too aggressively because we now can't make up for mistakes. And they go, what do you mean? And I go, let's just say you bought Apple stock for $100 and it went down to $50. That's a 50% decline in value. Pretty simple. But now you need 100% return just to get back up to that $100. So a lot of you have $1 million or $2 million going into retirement, and you don't necessarily need to hit home runs. You actually need to do the opposite, where now you need to make sure that that portfolio can last forever. And so too often someone comes to me and it's too aggressive, or it's actually too conservative, where they have too much in safe assets, where inflation is going to actually outpace their portfolio, which is another way of running out of money. So right now there's one risk here, which is it's too aggressive for this couple. However, I like to take a big step back, and I like to tell everyone, don't forget, this person who reached out to me, their wife has $45,000 in pension income. So if they told me that they needed $4,000 to meet all of their living expenses, which is not what they said, but a hypothetical, well, then at that case, I would say, hey, this is actually too conservative. And a lot of you are going, whoa, 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 what do you mean? I go, well, if they want to spend $4,000 a month in retirement and $45,000 a year is coming from a pension alone, they're going to have Social Security and other income that they don't need a dollar from this portfolio so they can meet their living expenses. However, I'm just illustrating that example so you can see that if they said they want $30,000 a month in retirement, like some of my characters, okay, I have some clients who are characters, they know who they are. Well, now we need a whole lot less in stocks because I need to be able to send them income without selling something at a loss. So that's what I want to go over on that. This is another breakdown saying of all the equities this person owns, here's how much they have in each bucket. So what you want to make sure is you have enough in each bucket so that you're never kind of overweighting it, because here's the risk. The risk is that this part of the market does really well, the growth part, then it's happy. But if it doesn't do well, now you need the rest of your portfolio to send you income. And if there's not enough here, you might have to sell at a loss. And that's what we want to prevent in retirement. So having the right mix of investments is important. And then finally, this is a really, really, really big one I'm going to talk on right here. 88% of what this person has is in North America. And so the US, what most people don't know is it did really, really well from 2010 to 2020 and beyond. What people know. What people don't know is from 2000 2010, it did not do well at all. In fact, you lost an average of 4% over time. And so if you had $100,000 you were starting with, and meaning you wanted $100,000 of income, and so now you're withdrawing so you can live, but don't forget, maybe you still have a mortgage, and don't forget, maybe there's health insurance, and don't forget, maybe you have your energy and health, so you're spending more on travel. Well, what if you have to take out a lot of your portfolio and it's all in North America, which isn't doing so well, and it didn't from 2000 to 2010, which is a long time period. So it's not me saying I think it's going to do well or not do well, none of that. It's me saying I want to make sure there's enough in every single bucket here, which in my mind is the world. So if the US is doing great, awesome. We're happy. If Mexico and Canada, happy. But if it's not doing well, you're not going, oh my God, all my eggs in one basket, which is the risk to run in retirement. Now, if you're in your 30s and 40s and you're going, hey, I really think the innovation we're doing in the North America region is just going to skyrocket me, I'm less concerned about this. But as you get closer to retirement, it concerns me more. Now, the big thing here I want to talk about, there's a lot to this, but fees. I'm one of the weird advisor that loves talking about fees. And if you don't know that, it's because my parents were burned by 4 financial advisors. And so what you're seeing here, what I'm going to go through is all of the fees that were inside of this investment portfolio that the client did not know. And so if we add up all of the fees on the right here, the net annual expense, this client was spending about $35,000 a year on fees, and they were spending 1.25% on advisor fees in addition to this. So they're spending $35,000 a year plus 1.25% just on the advisement of the portfolio, which they were not getting tax and estate guidance on. They're now a client of mine, but the point here is $35,000 a year is not insignificant. Now, if we knew that we could get value in excess of this every single year, I'd happily tell my client to pay it. The problem is this is historically not the case. And so what we want to do is we want to go down here and say, what are we even looking at here? Like, let me explain this, because most of you probably don't even know that this is happening in your investment portfolio. This is what's called an expense ratio. So let's pretend that you get a, statement from your advisor and it says you got a 10% return. The truth is you did not. You got a 10% return minus 1.28%. So 8.8% is your actual return. The good news here, it's not like this represents 50% of the portfolio, but it's still 20%. So they're spending about $11,000 a year in fees here. Now, this one right here that says 5.75%, this is what's called a sales load. So let's assume you bought this exact mutual fund right here, the MFS Lifetime 2050A, for $100,000. If you did, $5,750 would come right off the top. That's the commission that goes to the advisor, and it also goes to the firm. So now all of a sudden you've got this upfront commission and this big expense ratio. That's a little higher than I would like to see. Now, some of these are very low, which is good. That's like Vanguard, for example. Vanguard's not bad. I like Vanguard, but I'll ask people and I'll say, hey, what grocery store do you go to? And they're like, what does this have to do with investments? I go, just trust me. They go, right now I go to Vaughn's. I go, okay, that makes sense. It doesn't look like you go to Vaughn's though. And they're like, well, what do you mean? And I go, it almost looks like right now you're going to Whole Foods and you're just buying paper plates, because that's what you're doing here. You're paying a really high fee, but you're not getting value for it. I call it BB, bang for your buck. And what I want to have happen is you get a ton of BB. And so they go, oh, okay, so you want me to have more of these 0.04s? I go, maybe, but maybe not. And they're like, oh, now you're confusing me even more. And I go, here's my point. If you wanted to have the lowest possible fees, you certainly could. That's like going with Vanguard, but it's also like shopping at the dollar store. I'll go, why don't you just go to the dollar store? Don't go to Vaughn's. And they go, well, it's not the best value. Like I want to make sure it's good quality. I go, exactly. The point here is not to have the lowest possible fee, but you also don't want to go to Whole Foods. So there's a mix to be had in here. And I go through that example with my clients in more detail. So just showing you this, not to scare you. Now let's go into the real plan. But this is a sample of an investment portfolio of someone that's similar to the case study today. I know this is a longer video, so I'm going to take a quick pause right here. Please do drop in the comments when you're planning to retire, as well as what you're most excited to do. I love hearing from all of you. It's truly why I do all of this content. I truly love it, and I'm not just saying that. So I want to go through here now. Excuse me. I'm just getting over a cold, but I want to record this case study so that when people reach out, that they know that they are going to get their answers heard. And if you sent me a question and I did not reply to it, I will get to it. I promise you. But I'm trying to prioritize for those that reach out where I can help the wider audience. So, excuse me once again. Sorry about that. Let's hop right in. part of our human first planning approach at Root is that I'm not editing all this content. I'm just going in and making this. So hopefully you guys can see that and that it resonates with you. And if not, let me know. And I'm always happy to try to improve this. This is your channel as I see it, not mine. So normally I'll say John and Jane sample, but I'm switching it up today because I'm just feeling crazy. No, John and Sarah sample. So here you have, this is exactly what I went through on the email, just putting it into my kind of software here. Same thing here. I'm just putting in here some assumptions. So before John and Sarah, I'm assuming they want to retire right away because their question is, can I retire with total confidence? And I want to know, can they? Like, let's find out together. I'm making a big assumption here that they want to spend $10,000 a month every single month. I don't know if that's enough. I don't know if that's way too much. I don't know if that covers travel. I don't know if it's covering healthcare or long-term care costs. So I'm just putting some figures in here for them. Might be totally unnecessary. Income, I have no idea how much they're making, but I'm going to show them what's the power of working one more year. So I'm just throwing in, what if they had $100,000 each? That's what they're bringing in. John, I've got your Social Security in here. I know your name's not John, but you get my point. At 4,200 at age 70 here. And then, of course, Sarah, I'm doing the full retirement age spousal benefit for you. I've got your pension in here, wife, at $45,000. I'm not saying your name. I'm assuming that you guys are both doing maybe a little bit to your 401k. I don't know exactly why. You can see my screen's loading here. And Sarah, once again, I know that's not your name here, but I'm just saying 5%. Maybe you're getting a 5% max. I don't know, but I'm putting some assumptions in here. Let's see what you're on track for. And so this is really simple. Like what I'm trying to do is show them what can they do. And some of you guys are, I know the person who sent me these videos might watch this and go, oh my God, I can do this. That's not what I'm showing here. Okay. What I'm showing is, a lot of assumptions in here. We really need to take a deep dive into inflation and what your portfolio actually looks like, because it might not look like this. Right off the bat, if you have $5 million and you want to retire right away, you want to spend $10,000 a month, you're saving a little bit to your 401k, maybe you're going to get some moderate growth in retirement, kind of gut check, you're in a good spot. Now, some of you are going to go to the comments and go, how is someone with 5 million even debating if they're in a good spot? The truth is that I find that a lot of people, when they have more, they worry more. And so 5 million, what this is showing is they're going to die with $27 million. The truth is they won't, because 27 million won't be worth 27 million in the future. So what we're actually seeing here, once my screen loads, is $27 million will be the equivalent of $10 million. So it's still a lot of money, but we always want to go, okay, what's the big difference here? Well, the big difference here is I see they're going to be okay, not because of this graph, but because of their withdrawal rate. So right now, what you're seeing here, guys, very simple. A lot of you are going to have this problem, is their withdrawal rate's really low. They're in the 2% range. I mean, they don't spend $10,000 a month. They have $45,000 a year coming from a pension. They've got Social Security that's going to help them later on. Right now, they're good. And in fact, their withdrawal rate's really low. And then when Social Security comes on, their withdrawal rate is extremely low. And then RMDs come. And the RMDs really are going to crush them because they're going to be forced to take out more than they need. I don't know their health. I don't know their life expectancy. There's a lot I don't know. But their withdrawal rate tells me they're in a wonderful position. So that should be comforting to see if this is you. Now, you might go, what if I just work a little longer? I'm not saying I have to, but what if you do? And the risk a lot of you run into is you'll do some planning and go, hey, I know I'm going to have more money if I do this, but what I really don't know is how much more. And so I'll tell a client, I'll go, let's start refreshing this. Let's start doing some planning so you can see yourself, yeah, there's certainly a benefit. I mean, it's still nearly $500,000 more dollars, but look in the grand scheme of things. Would you rather have $500,000 more dollars? Would you rather have a whole lot more time with family or friends or doing what you want to do? Now, if you were to say, I'm just not open to investing, turns out my portfolio is just total preservation, then we refresh the plan and it's going to look a lot different. I'm not showing you this to scare you. This is just real life here. You're going to see my screen load where now all of a sudden you're still okay, but there's $6 million fewer dollars on the table. And that's okay, by the way. Some people go, hey, I'm going to sleep better by not going through those ups and downs. So this is really comforting to me. Other people go, no, this is not what I'm looking for at all. I want to see how good I can possibly do. So a lot of this depends. How much do you want to spend? Is it $6,000 a month? Is it $10,000? Is it $15,000 a month? But if you're asking me directly, am I in a spot to retire? I would say absolutely, assuming your investments are even getting moderate growth, and you want to spend $15,000 a month, not $10,000 a month, $15,000 a month. I would feel really good telling this client, once again, once this loads fully, that they're in a good spot, meaning they're still going to have $5-6 million. We can go to their withdrawal rate. Yeah, you're hovering around that 4% or so, but then Social Security is going to help out. You'll be in the 2% range. Yes, RMDs are going to come on. It's not going to be horrible. They're in a good spot. So this should be really comforting to see. The big variable here is that investment picture. So a lot of people are reaching out to me and they're going, hey, this all sounds great. I get the planning. And they're maybe in a mix like this. So on the left, this is what I'm going to kind of guess this couple is in, maybe 70% or so, and equities, 28% fixed income. I like to take a deeper dive with my clients on this and go through the overall what's called allocation path. So I really want to know equity, fixed income, cash. What's the breakdown? And then we've got to go a step further and go, okay, is there any concentration or sector style risk? And so what we're looking at here, without boring you to death and making you fall asleep, is very much so what I showed you previously, just on another scale. I want to make sure that you have enough in every single bucket. The current portfolio, I don't know what you have, which is why it says 0 here. But what I'm doing is I want to make sure that you have enough in every single part of the market. You're not losing exposure. So equity style is really important here. I also really care about concentration. And so you're going, what is concentration? Well, diversification, quite simply, meaning some of you are reaching out and you've got a ton of Apple stock or Microsoft stock or one stock, and that could be a big risk. So I want to make sure you're diversified properly. Going through the holdings, the tax allocation. This is what I like to take a deep dive on with my clients here. I really care about the tax summary. So this is saying what amount is taxable, what amount is tax-free, meaning never taxed again, and what amount is tax deferred, meaning we're still going to pay taxes on it, just not right now. So this is the overall tax summary for this client. And then of course, I'm not showing any specific holdings, but within the 401ks and the brokerage and the Roth IRA, we could put in every single holding and you could see a comprehensive view of your picture. The last thing I'm going to leave this particular couple with, it is the tax piece, because this is where a lot of value can be added. And so what I'm going to show you here, that this can lose a lot of you, but I'm going to ask you to stick with me because this is really, really important. I'm going to ask you to ignore what's on the screen right now. What this is saying, quite simply, is what if this person just retired right away? You're always going to have this little blue here, and you can see it's loading here. So just give me 1 second. I get too excited about this stuff. So the different lines here, guys, these are different tax brackets. So this light blue line, that's the 10% bracket. The green is the 12%. The tan is the 22%. And the orange is the 24%, which are all going to be changing. And so if we take a big, wide look at this, what's happening is their income's really low. And some people get so happy because they go, oh my God, I pay taxes for so long. This looks awesome. I'm not going to have to pay taxes at the same degree that I've been paying. You did great, Ari. And that's why I say I didn't do great. In fact, these are the years we really want to use before income jumps way up. And so what we want to do is look at this and go, well, what if, so this terminal tax rate, this is saying, God forbid, what if something happened and these went to heirs or these went to a foundation or you name it. So some people that are in California like me, if something happened to them, their children are going to inherit this and they're going to be paying 30% easily between federal and state. So this is just a kind of a rough estimate here, but I'll show a client, what if you do Roth conversions? And let's assume you just filled up the 12% bracket. What you're going to see here in just a second as I update this, and it gets a little excited, is it adds value. It adds $100,000 plus dollars. And what you're doing is you're moving money from your IRA to your Roth IRA. And you're essentially saying, I'm happy to pay a little bit in taxes to avoid a big tax bill in the future. So that's the first thing that you can see. The next thing you can do is you say, what if we fill up the 22% bracket? What does that do to the plan? And so you can continue to always modify and go, okay, is that going to add a lot of value? Is it going to add a little bit of value? And so you can see here, it's going to add $400,000 more dollars, and that's conservatively. Now we can keep doing this, and at some point it actually makes sense not to do Roth conversions, but very simply, people are reaching out going, hey, am I going to have an RMD issue? And more often than not, they are. So these are the things you want to do to this particular person. I don't know if you have a mortgage. I don't know your insurance. I don't have the confidence to say, yes, go retire. But if you're saying, I want to spend $10,000 a month in retirement, no other major red flags here, I'd say you should have a ton of confidence and start planning what you want to do in retirement because you're in a good spot. So that's what I wanted to show on this side of my planning. Please, 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 I know this was a lot. I never want to overwhelm. I do all of the content I do, and so does my partner, James, in an effort to make sure that you retire with total confidence. That's what it's all about. A lot of you don't know this. Many of you do, but I'm a soccer player. I love playing soccer. And sometimes in life, we'll say, hey, here's a financial decision we want you to make, even though on paper, it doesn't actually add up. And people go, what do you mean? And I'll give them an example. My father loves Facebook, okay, to an unhealthy degree. And so what happens is now my brother and I are hanging out with my dad, and we just don't feel like we're getting that good connection. So our idea was my dad's always talked about loving the idea of purchasing a sauna. So we went out and we bought a sauna. And the reason we bought the sauna is we thought it would overheat his phone so he could not use Facebook. And essentially, we're just paying to actually just speak with our dad. Now, a lot of you are going, why don't you just ask your dad to just put his phone down at dinner? And trust me, we've tried. But it's just not working out. And so now we've actually connected a whole lot more. My brother and I look forward to saunas with my dad. Like, it's a fun experience for us. So I don't want all of you to go, oh, I would love to start taking fitness classes, or I would love to start prioritizing my health in this way, but I know that's going to cost something. Yes, it's going to cost something. Yes, you plan for it. Yes, you feel good about it. So I believe what a budget should do is say, here's how much you can spend without any guilt. However, most people view it as, here's what I can't spend. It's a budget. It's limiting me. It really shouldn't limit you if you're doing a good job. So for example, I utilize sinking funds. What that means is $900 every single month goes from my bank account, and that goes directly to my travel fund. And so I like to spend about $10,000 a year on travel. And so don't always, get to that exact point. Sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. But the idea is I'm saving intentionally so that when I take those trips, I feel zero guilt. And I find a lot of you are going, hey, I'm retiring a lot earlier than my coworker or my neighbor. So am I really in a good spot to do this? You are, as long as you're planning well. And this is what we love to do. So whether it's purchasing a sauna or say, hey, I'm going to go, fly first class, I want you to start living your dream retirement, which is really hard. It's actually a lot easier to just keep working and saving and investing. Why? It's what you know. So I'm asking you right now to start doing the hard work of practicing what you want to do in retirement. That way, simply you can go to work, and go, I know exactly what I need to do to save to be there. Pretty simple. So hopefully that this was helpful and did not overwhelm you. If so, please do like this video. Please do subscribe. And I kindly ask that you share it with someone so that you can go travel with them. It's a whole lot more fun to retire early, where it's not just you sitting around going, hey, I did it, but what about my friends? So want to make sure you're in an awesome spot that all your friends are. And then many of you know this, but we limit the number of new clients that reach out to us that even go through our onboarding process. So we have a screening process. Those that go through the process and then eventually do end up on the calendar, they're speaking with me directly. I take this first call with everyone that reaches out, and I want to determine if we are a good fit for you and that if you're a good fit for us. So that's what that whole explore call is all about. If you want to learn more, of course, please visit our website, rootfinancialpartners.com. That's it for today. Love you guys.